What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Maverick here, and today we're watching episode 4 of ReZero, the director's cut. So, this should constitute episode 6 and 7 of the original TV anime, and let's quickly summarize what we've learned so far, right? So, in the last episode, we have confirmed that Subaru's sort of resetting ability can have different reset points, so he can continue to progress the story along, and then reset when to a certain point. I guess you could call it checkpoints, if you will, of the entire story, if this does follow a linear timeline of some sorts. The exact mechanism of which we don't know about yet, but at the very least we can kind of view it as a checkpoints in a game and save points in a game so that you can reload whenever you die, right? So that's one. We're also introduced to the important characters Rim and Ram. At least I assume they're important, considering particularly Rim, because her reputation precedes her, even if it's in name only. Like, I know of this character even though I know nothing about her, just because she's mentioned so often in various anime stuff and whatnot. And of course, we also know that somebody is murdering Subaru in his sleep. And that is probably something that we're going to have to resolve here in order for the story to move forward, and then we can move on to the next checkpoint, right? So with that in mind, let's just jump right into the episode. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. They're like, who is this stupid person? Oh, alright. Oh, and by the way, I made the prediction last episode that I don't think... Well, I guess this is something that I want to also confirm. Whether or not the, how fate exactly works in this universe, right? So the difference here is, for instance, I believe in the past 5 days have passed before he made the promise with Emilia to go on a date. Now, my theory right now is the trigger of him dying is actually the fact that he proposes this date with Emilia. So, is that true? And does it have to be in 5 days? Or, for instance, can he last 6 days and then propose to go on a date with her on the 6th night? And then it will actually, he'll die that night instead, right? Or is it more of a case where it has to happen on the 5th day, on the 5th night anyways? And would it matter if he did not make the promise on the 5th night, or something like that? Now, little more nuanced stuff here, but it might be helpful in figuring out the exact mechanism of his ability. Hello. Hmm? Oh. He's back in here. It's like, get out. She's talking about you, dude. She's talking about you. Well, you're a slow one. But we already knew that before. Hello. Ah. Well, even if there was a 3-second roll, you've been in there way longer than 3 seconds, dude. Right, go take a bath, man. Oh. Super cleaning. You have a weird sense of humor, girl. Why are you two on the same wavelength? Don't worry about it. Oh. Surprisingly falling for the straightforward approach. Ooh. Oh, I see. Oh wait, it's the fourth night? Alright. Look, it's probably a lord, or one of those beneath him, dude. Let me work for you. Oh, right. Well, okay. He's actually doing things a bit smarter this time. I love how he's just going around exploring places. Mhm. And you're not really going to be able to get closer with them if you don't work with them. Hmm. Shamans. I mean, if you simply use abilities that require... Oh. Huh. But I thought if you use magical abilities, you would naturally get all the mana. Ah. I love how you're always at there at this right time. Hmm. Oh, she is taking it herself now. True that. Sure. Wait, he just made this up himself, didn't he? Actually, probably not. But it is ironic how red and blue is like Rim and Ram. He would be hated again. Because he's playing the role of a bad guy. What's the more? I guess this is sort of like a fable in a way. You don't necessarily have a happy ending to this. It's more like a case of, you read it and then you know what to avoid, what to not do. He lost a friend. The Red Ogre lost a friend. Oh, is this a root decision now? In games, especially in Gal games, this might be an important fork in the road where you decide which route that you're heading down towards. And of course, he goes for the greedy option. Hmm. I'm assuming this is gonna be important somewhere down the line. They're probably gonna meet the dragon. Or so what. Touchy subject? More pieces of the puzzle. Ah. So Ram is envious of Rem. Are you... you can you can thank her for talking to you, man. All right. So I think this would mark a good. This would be a good experiment to see which of the. Oh, so is he actually going to sneak back in somehow? I kind of feel like this is just gonna make yourself more suspicious, dude. But alright. Oh, this is the same night, right? The fourth night? Oh! Holy shit. And of course. Oh, it was actually Rim. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. I gotta say, I was expecting either the Lord or Ram. I certainly wasn't expecting Rim. Which is because you're a dude who came out of nowhere. Alright. How are you gonna take this situation, dude? I know I might be seeming heartless right now, but I could totally understand. Even without, even without understanding, like, the true extent of their background and whatnot, I can kind of understand that in a situation as grave as this, you're not going to be able to trust someone like this so easily. He's just way too suspicious, man. Oh, you want to tell her about this? Oh, he can't? Holy shit! Okay. Oh, I guess he's not going to die, but this is like a warning to him? Okay, okay. Hmm. Hmm. The scent of the witch. I'm glad you're back in spirits, dude. How is this gonna work? Wow. You're certainly very trusting of him. Maybe it's because of Puck and Emilia? No, probably Puck. Puck trusts him, right? Oh, it even works like that. Huh. Okay. I'm seriously wondering. Read up! So this is how he's gonna spend the night? Huh. Oh, it's the fifth morning now. Hmm. Are you gonna die right now? What now? What? A rim died? Did she get, like, countered by? But he can't. I mean, he can say some things, right? Now he's just choosing to entirely run away from the situation. Damn. Like, I'm sorry if I'm not really talking so much right now, but Come on, Subaru. What now? But why did she... I actually thought it was like a sort of counter curse that occurred to him. Okay. He's gonna try and kill himself. Is he gonna get... Okay. Well, at least he successfully died. Alright. I was almost like, is he going to be stopped at the very end there? Anyways, I'm kind of sorry for being quiet throughout the whole emotional scenes, but those are times when I really want to concentrate on what they're saying. Alright. Anyways, that's it for now. I'll see you guys in just a second. Whew, alrighty, that was episode 4, and well, I do see why people enjoy this so much. They like to see Subaru suffer, I guess. But yeah, anyways, I do again once again apologize for my, relative lack of commentary during the sort of more emotional scenes. These are the times when I would like to keep quiet and really get a feeling of the emotions that the characters are feeling, and also, to get a feel of the seiyuu work as well, how well they really sort of embody the character and their emotions, right? And also, not only that, but because in terms of these kinds of scenes, I do have a tendency to sort of be a little bit more of a wisecrack at it, a wise ass at it, if you will. And just a heads up here, right? I do, for those who have been following my other series as well, you'll probably know me as a little bit more cynical, more pragmatic. I take that kind of stance more often, right? I'm definitely not of the emotional kind. And so it's not that I don't feel empathy towards Subaru. I do feel empathy towards him, but definitely not sympathy, right? And in fact, I think a lot of people probably can't really relate with Subaru's character all that well. So what I'm saying here is that it's possible to realize that the dude is in a messed up situation, and yet still have a different line of thought to this, and have a feeling that there could be a better sort of there could be a better way of approach to this, right? But yet again, so that's why I didn't really want to say all these out within the episode itself and leave it for here during the discussion session here. Now, when I'm talking about different kinds of sympathy here, I'm not talking about the point where, hey, why don't you just die and redo the whole thing, right? Now, I do get that there is this sort of emotion, of mental block here, where you're trying to kill yourself, but you're not really sure if every time you kill yourself, is there something bad that's going to happen, or might this be the last time, right? Because you don't really know your powers. Heck, even if somebody did walk up to you and tell you that, okay, you now have powers of being reborn to this specific time whenever you die, right? And it'll literally kill you, and then you are reborn to prove that point. You probably still wouldn't go around and kill yourself willy-nilly, right? Because there is always this sort of nagging feeling of what if this might be the last time, right? So it's definitely not this part that I'm not I'm a sort of egging him on, but more the fact where how so easily he fell into this spiral of depression here, without thinking of how to face the problem here, right? And I'm not talking about this from a perspective, like from a God's eye perspective or whatnot. I'm just saying about this directly as how I would feel if I was in Subaru's situation. So to further explain this, I'm actually coming from a standpoint where I was already quite confident that he was killed by one of those from the mansion, right? Now, it turned out to be Rim, not Rem, much to my surprise, but it doesn't really change much, right? And the reason for this is I thought that this was a pretty logical conclusion in the first place. So first of all, as I said, I am more cynical, so honestly, I don't really trust any of these people in the mansion, right? Emilia, I can trust because of some sort of meta-knowledge, that she is one of the main characters, and I'll be honest, the only reason I'm trusting Rem is because I also have this meta-knowledge that she is a pretty important character, so that's why I didn't initially suspect her. If I did not know that Rem was actually one of the important characters of this series, I would totally also suspect her as well. All of them. Betty, the Lord, Rim, and Rem, I would totally suspect any of them for being the one who was trying to kill Subaru. Because, so first of all, I don't really trust any of them, and second, as I mentioned in the last episode, royal politics are no joke, right? He's literally stumbling on this situation where, he's befriending someone in the line of succession. That is a big deal here, right? This is royalty we're talking about here. And not to mention, he is super suspicious here, without any kind of reason to... Let's just put it this way. For the case in the matters of national security, I think it would not be too... I don't really think it would be too extreme to really just kill him to make things more simpler here, right? Or at least place him under very heavy suspicion. Now, I read a comment last episode saying that maybe you wouldn't go into this far extreme of an example, but that's coming from here and now, right? In the modern world and more civilized world, if you will. In this in this sort of setting where it's more like the Middle Ages kind of fantasy setting and whatnot, I could totally see him being off just for this amount of suspicion here for for getting too close to Emilia here, right? So that's why I already feel like this didn't really come as much of a surprise to me, and I was indeed very surprised when Subaru got this kind of reaction to this here. But then again, I guess this is just a difference in the characters, right? We obviously see that Subaru is already really trusting of these people as of right now, and so, that there you go. He feels like he's been betrayed, right? He feels like he's been betrayed by someone who he felt was his friend. Now, with that being said, however, we did come into the same kind of conclusion in the end, although funnily enough, it was from two very different perspectives. So once again, I came to the same conclusion of, yeah, sure, we must move on, there must be some way that we can change this, but it was more through a logical matter here. And the thing that I'm basing this on is from the fact that he just literally cleared a stage, right, is the term that I'm going to mention here, right? He survived the attack by Elsa back at the, and Felt and the old man back at the sort of fencing house, or whatever you want to call it, right? He survived that ordeal even though initially he failed. So that means that things must be able to be changed, and that includes people's perceptions as well, right? For the first time he went through that entire thing, right, he didn't really have that close a relationship with Felt. The second time he went through the entire thing, he didn't really have a good relationship with Emilia. But later on, he was able to change people's perceptions of him and also successfully get out of that situation. So by that logic, right, and having already experienced it firsthand, we know that the save point, we already know that save point can be moved here, right? You can progress to the next level. So logic would dictate and tell me that this situation can also be changed as well. It's not hopeless. There is actually hope here to recidify this situation. So that's what's going to drive me to say, okay, I shouldn't give up here, right? I mean, giving up here is the same as, well, no good could come of it, right? I clearly see that there is something that I must do here, so I need to find out what it is and fix it, right? So that's how I would come to this conclusion, and I wouldn't really be down, and I would still be optimistic that I can somehow find a way through the situation. Whereas Subaru, being the emotional character that he is, he got back on his feet not because he fought it through or anything, but just for the pure matter that he cares about Rim and Ram, and so he feels like he should do things. He should stay determined for their sake, if you will. Determination, yay. That's kind of meta as well, right? Undertale? Anyone? But anyways, and that is indeed very fitting for a shonen protagonist here, right? It is kind of important, through the power of relationships and whatnot to further progress this story here. So I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying that to me, this was a foregone conclusion just by everything that we've experienced before, whereas for Subaru, I guess it kind of makes the anime or the story as a whole more entertaining as well. But definitely, we can see how, I guess this is just further confirmation of how Subaru's character actually is here, right? So, anyways, with that in mind, and that was sort of more like a preface, right, and aside here. So, let's really think about this situation here. Now, honestly, even though I just mentioned that I can totally understand the mental block about killing yourself and getting yourself into dangerous situations, a part of me just still really thinks that if I was in the same situation, I'd be making so many hypotheses and trying to test each of them out, right? So, for instance, the original condition that I mentioned last episode, where I thought was what triggered his death, is getting close with Emilia, right? And that would be the trigger that caused, in this case, it turned out to be Rim, to attack him and result in a bad end. So let's sort of revise that a little bit, right? So it's not just being close with Emilia, but perhaps being close with Ram or Emilia, or even some others as well, and that is what's going to raise his suspicion level and cause him to be attacked, right? Now, so is that the case? So is it a case where if you don't do anything with them, what will happen then, right? So this episode, happened, and in this scenario he didn't get close to any of them, and then Rim died in the end, right? So obviously it can't work like that as well. So what happens if he tries to focus all his efforts on befriending Rim then? So that would be, I guess, sort of like his very first death. I felt like he got kind of sort of close to Rim in a way, but then at the end he still was killed by her, right? If the first death was actually her, which I'm assuming it is right now, since there was the chain and balls and whatnot, and we haven't seen Ram actually display that sort of ability. I think they actually have different abilities here, so perhaps that's not the case, right? So, and then I'm going to think of further situations as well. So what would happen if he purposely allows himself to be attacked by Rim, but makes it in a way so that others can see it's actually Rim attacking him, right? What will happen then? Is that going to be a case where things are kind of messed up, and you know, maybe that can further progress the story, right? Maybe that can further progress the storyline. That would be a possibility that I would want to try out. Or another possibility could be that you need to befriend Rim and Ram at the same time, right? And sort of balance it out. Or maybe you need to learn the entire backstory of these two and really get into, the status of trusted person to both of them at the same time. And that is what is going to clear the situation. And I say both of them because I still have this nagging feeling in my mind that Rim and Ram are sort of like an yin and yang situation here, right? If he were only to concentrate all his efforts on Rim instead, I kind of get the feeling that it might be Ram in that position here that's going to cause Subaru's death, right? So, I don't know, it's again just a hunch here, but I kind of feel like it needs to be balanced here somehow. Especially since we do have this, I guess, sort of clue that this Witch of Envy or whatnot, like, I'm assuming that this is some sort of clue to this entire situation here, right? And if that were the case, you know, you could totally see one being envious of the other and whatnot. I don't really know, right? We need to know more about their backstory. As Subaru said, you know, I don't even know what I don't know, so I need to learn more. So that is the case. But you can only learn more by really thinking all these situations through and trying them one by one here, right? And not to mention, I'm not even mentioning the possibility of a third party here yet, right? Because obviously Rim got ill, and well, not only got ill, she died in this episode because nothing happened. And obviously, I'm not expecting those in a mansion to kill her, right? So it must be some kind of outside force. Now, initially, actually, I was thinking whether or not it was instead sort of like an anti-spell, if you will, set by Betty, and then because Rim was trying to kill Subaru, she got hit by the sort of anti-spell, trap spell, if you will, and that was what caused her demise. But apparently not so. So we'll see about that. So this possibility of a third party, we definitely know that this third party is skilled at covert infiltration, right? He or she was able to sort of poison or curse Subaru, and in this case sort of poison or curse Rim as well. And I don't think it would be too far-fetched to also consider that this third party might be able to plant seeds of doubt within people, right? So perhaps Rim isn't actually this sort of an extreme character. Perhaps she's been sort of nudged in a way, right? Sort of hypnotized in a way to veer in this direction by this third party. That's also a possibility, but we can't really know that without testing all these different situations out. And not only that, there's one more thing that I want to really test, and that is how far you can actually say stuff here, right? So it definitely came as a shock to me to see that Subaru couldn't tell of his abilities to any of these other people. That is definitely quite the that adds quite the interesting twist to this as well. And so you are really, really alone, right? You know, I was getting some vibes from another slash gate series, if you will, where, you know, you're not alone, you can rely on your friends, you don't have to shoulder this burden all by yourself, you know, that kind of situation. Nope, this anime just straight up says, hell no, you're doing this yourself, right? So that indeed did come as a sort of a shock in a sort of way, and indeed that actually, let's put it this way, it heightened the enjoyment level for me of this series. Though I guess you could say that's kind of that's kind of unfair to Subaru. Like, poor Subaru, he's gonna have to go through with this all by himself. Well, tough luck, dude. If you want to be the protagonist of a story, you gotta have some bad things go your way. But yeah, anyways, my point was, I'm really curious, like, how far you can actually say stuff, right? So obviously he can't really tell anybody about him actually having this sort of reset ability. However, I feel like it's possible for him to maybe just give out some warnings, right? Maybe he's able to tell them, hey, no, listen, guys, there's this really unknown enemy out there. This unknown enemy is going to come here, he's going to kill someone, and warn them this way, right? Is that a possibility? I feel like it is, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't really be able to do anything. You really wouldn't be able to change stuff like this, right? It's kind of vague, so you don't really know. So I feel like that is actually within the rules here. But once again, this is something that we need to see Subaru actually test out, right? So, yeah, I think that pretty much concludes everything that I want to talk about for this episode. I don't really want to say too much more, otherwise this video will get way over time. There's some interesting things here as well, including Subaru's story / fable about the two ogres. Obviously resonating with Ram as well. We've also got the story of the envious witch or whatnot, and then we also have Subaru himself apparently being doused in the stench of the witch or whatnot. So those are definitely some things that are on the top of the let's research this and find out what the hell this is list. And yeah, I mean, really just looking at this, one step at a time. Now, I am glad that I will say, after all this, coming back to the episode a little bit, I am glad that at least they showed Subaru immediately in this sort of positive attitude again, right? I feel like that is probably going to be one of his major redeeming features in this anime, considering that with the way things are so far, I can already foresee him going through a lot of suffering, let's say, going to hell and beyond in order to fix all these situations. Kind of like trying to save a sinking ship with lots of holes all over the place, right? He's gonna have to go around and patch everything. But I have a feeling that that can be possible, once again, just through the experience of the initial events. So, even though it's hard, it's definitely possible. There's a hope there, right? So, in conclusion, that's my conclusion here. And hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you guys next time. Don't worry, I know that season 2 is coming out soon. I will definitely be focusing my attention more on this series as this season's animes eventually conclude, right? I will be able to devote more time. There might actually be a week where every single day I will have to do an episode here, but I will try my best to get this finished before season 2. Anyways, thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys next time.